Hi everyone, I'm Nancy, and if you were to look up storybook romance in the dictionary, you'd probably find a picture of me and my husband Tom. Let's set the stage for you. I'm an interior designer with a passion for vintage decor, and Tom's an engineer who loves to cook. I know, could we be any more complimentary? We met at a mutual friends party 6 years ago, and you know when people talk about love at first sight? Well, it's a real thing. I swear on my collection of vintage teacups. I remember that night vividly. Tom approached me with this awkward but adorable smile, balancing a plate of Horsdovers he'd made himself. Hey, would you like to try some mini bruschettas? I made them, Tom offered, extending the plate toward me. I tried one, and it was like the heavens opened up. Wow, this is amazing! You made this? Yeah, cooking is kind of my thing, Tom grinned. By the way, I'm Tom. Nancy. And designing beautiful spaces is my thing, I replied, already sensing that this was the beginning of something special. We dated, we fell in love, and before we knew it, we were planning our wedding. Now, let's talk about that wedding. It was not just any wedding. It was the wedding. Imagine a venue like a palace, brimming with white roses and orchids, an entire room just for desserts. Yes, you heard that right. And even a small-scale fireworks display to round off the evening. It was magical. Our friends still talk about it. They call it the royal wedding, but with less media coverage, obviously. Are you ready for this? Tom whispered to me, just moments before we made our grand entrance into the ballroom as husband and wife. I looked into his eyes, and at that moment, I knew we were ready for anything as long as we were together. More than ready. During our first dance, Tom looked down at me and said, "You know, this is just the beginning, right? Our life is going to be filled with moments as beautiful as this." And I believed him. After the honeymoon, we settled into married life effortlessly. It was as if we were two puzzle pieces that fit perfectly together. I loved how Tom would cook breakfast on Sundays, the smell of pancakes and bacon filling the air. He loved how I transformed our house into a home, each room echoing our personalities. And best of all, we were incredibly close to Tom's parents, Martha and Bill. They were the epitome of warmth and kindness, welcoming me into their family as if I were their own daughter. So there it is! Our life was practically a dream. Weekends away, shared hobbies, movie nights, and cozy mornings. We were a team and nothing seemed impossible for us. Our perfect little world was complete, or so I thought. Little did I know that perfection can sometimes be a facade, and that some puzzles, no matter how complete they seem, might still be missing a piece. We celebrated our happiness by buying a home, a beautiful house with a garden in the back, plenty of rooms for future kids, and a kitchen big enough for all of Tom's culinary experiments. It felt like we were planting our roots, preparing for a future filled with even more love and happiness. We couldn't wait to share our joy, and a housewarming party was the perfect occasion. But, as they say, even the best laid plans can unravel, and what happened next shook the very foundation of our idyllic life. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, I just want you to understand how perfect everything seemed, so you can fully grasp the magnitude of what was about to unfold. Now that you understand the almost surreal perfection of our life, let me tell you about the day we closed the deal on our new home. I remember pulling up in front of this charming 2-story house, the one that Tom and I had been eyeing for months. The sold sign still hadn't fully sunk in. It felt like a dream. Look at it, Nancy. Can you believe it? It's ours. I shook my head, my eyes welling up a little. I can't believe it. It's like the universe is rewarding us for being so ridiculously in love. We laughed, but there was truth in that laughter. We had both been diligent, saving every penny, planning meticulously for this moment. A new home wasn't just a new building. It was a concrete symbol of our shared dreams, of the life we were so carefully constructing. The first thing we did was throw a housewarming party. Now, you have to understand, when the Kellers throw a party, it's not just dips and dip. We're talking a full-on barbecue, craft cocktails, and a playlist curated to make even the most reluctant guest shake a leg. "So, what do you think of the patio?" I asked Martha and Bill, leading them to the backyard where Tom had set up his prized grill. Martha looked around, her eyes taking in the flower beds I designed, the stone pathway leading to a quaint little garden. "It's beautiful, dear. You've outdone yourself. And wait till you taste what I've got cooking," Tom chimed in, flipping burgers with the kind of precision that only an engineer/chef could manage. That evening was perfect, filled with laughter and joy. Friends came and went, each congratulating us, their warm wishes filling the home with even more love. As the night wore on, Tom and I stole a moment for ourselves. We stood on the upstairs balcony, overlooking the dwindling crowd below, the twinkling lights of the patio casting a soft glow on everything. "See, I told you on our wedding day, didn't I? Beautiful moments just like this one," Tom whispered, pulling me closer. "I remember," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "and you were right. But this is only the beginning, right?" "Absolutely," Tom assured me. "And there's more good news." At this point, Tom shared the secret we had been keeping. I was pregnant. We were going to be parents, and just when we thought our cup of happiness was full, it seemed the universe decided to make it overflow. "I can't wait to see you as a mom," Tom said, the emotion evident in his eyes. "And I can't wait to see our child fall in love with cooking, just like their dad," I replied. We already had a solid financial plan for our future, with $100,000 safely tucked away for the baby's needs. Diapers, school, emergencies. We'd planned for it all. We were excited but also responsible, a combination that we thought was foolproof. That night, as we finally went to bed, the house still echoing with the remnants of a joyous evening, I couldn't shake off this overwhelming feeling of gratitude. Life was perfect. Family was perfect. We were perfect. But as I would soon discover, perfection is a fragile thing, easily shattered by the unforeseen, the unexpected, the unthinkable. Even the strongest structures can have hidden fault lines, ready to split open when you least expect it. And boy, were we in for a seismic shift. The morning of my prenatal checkup, I felt like a bundle of nerves. Tom, my rock, wasn't there. He was halfway around the world for work, negotiating a big contract that could solidify our financial future even more. We Skyped before I left for the hospital, and his face on the screen was a bittersweet sight. "Remember to ask the doctor about the nursery colors, babe." "Blue and yellow? Or maybe green?" Tom's voice came through the laptop. "I will, but aren't you jumping the gun a bit? We don't even know if it's a boy or a girl yet," I laughed. "Who cares? As long as the baby is as healthy and beautiful as its mother, I'll be the happiest man alive," he replied. Touched, I blew him a kiss goodbye and headed for the hospital. That's when it happened. My phone buzzed in my purse, and I saw my sister Emily's name flash on the screen. "Ham, what's up?" "Nancy, you won't believe what I just saw. Martha and Bill are at your house, living there, not just visiting." My stomach dropped. "Wait, what? They can't be. We didn't even give them a key." I know, but I saw them. They even took in the mail." The gravity of what Emily was saying hit me like a freight train. Tom was out of the country, unreachable for hours due to his work commitments. I was alone and pregnant, and now this. The first thought that crossed my mind was the money, the $100,000 we had meticulously saved up for our child's future. Martha and Bill knew about it. We had foolishly thought we could trust them enough to share such important details. "Do you think could they have taken the money?" Emily asked, her voice hesitant. "I don't know, but we have to act fast." "Should we call Tom?" she suggested. "No, there's no time. He's in meetings until late tonight, and we can't afford to wait." As I sat there in the hospital, torn between my duty to my unborn child and my immediate urge to protect our life savings, I realized that my idyllic world was starting to crumble. How could two people who were supposed to be our pillars of support do something so underhanded? How could they betray us like this? The dilemma was more than just ethical. It was emotional, a bitter pill that I couldn't swallow. A bitter pill that I couldn't swallow. With a heavy heart, I made the call that would set the wheels of retribution in motion. It was drastic, yes, but what choice did I have? Little did I know that this call would become the catalyst for a cascade of events that would change our family dynamics forever. As I hung up, I felt an unsettling mix of empowerment and dread. I was protecting my family, but at what cost? I had just set a boundary, one that would be hard to cross back over. In that moment, I realized that our perfect life had cracks, and they were starting to show. It was an awakening, harsh and brutal, about the fragility of trust and the complexity of relationships. But what I didn't know was just how far-reaching the consequences of this betrayal would be. My fingers trembled as I dialed the number for the local police station. The weight of what I was about to do pressed heavily on me, but there was no turning back now. After a few rings, the dispatcher picked up. "Local police department, how may I assist you?" The voice on the other end sounded neutral, unknowing of the domestic storm I was about to unleash. "I need to report an unauthorized entry into my home. My husband's parents are living in our house without our permission," I stammered out. "Do you have reason to believe that they could be a threat or have stolen anything from you?" "I can't be sure, but we've been saving money for our unborn child, and they know where it is." "All right, Mom. I'm sending a patrol car to your address to investigate. Can someone grant them entry?" "My sister will. She lives nearby and has a spare key," I replied, gulping down the knot forming in my throat. I immediately called Emily. The police are coming." "Of course, Nancy. I'm on it. This is unbelievable. I can't believe it's come to this," Emily said, her voice echoing my own disbelief. With the police en route and Emily ready to take action, I waited, anxious and on edge. Minutes felt like hours as I sat in the hospital waiting room. When my phone finally buzzed, my heart leapt into my throat. It was a text from Emily. "Police are here. They escorted Martha and Bill out. Money is missing." The reality of the text hit me like a sledgehammer. My worst fears had come true. They had taken the money. Our carefully amassed $100,000, meant for the secure future of our unborn child, was gone. Rage and disbelief swirled inside me like a tempest. I immediately dialed Tom's number, knowing that he would be out of his meeting by now. When he picked up, I could hear the cheerful tone in his voice, unaware of the calamity that had just unfolded. "Hey, love, how did the appointment go?" Tom inquired. "Tom, forget the appointment. Your parents have been living in our house and the money is gone. I had to call the police on them," I blurted out, unable to contain my fury and frustration. A pause. A long, agonizing pause. Then Tom's voice returned, shaky but resolute. "What? Are you sure? That can't be right." "I'm sure, Tom. Emily was there. She saw everything, and so did the police. They escorted your parents out, but our savings are gone. What do we do now?" "We report it, Nancy." "As heartbreaking as it is, we have to report it," Tom said, his voice tinged with a sorrow I'd never heard before. And so, the gears of justice started to turn, fueled by betrayal and a shattered trust that could never be pieced back together. I filled out a police report, and Martha and Bill were apprehended. Tom, once so close to his parents, was now supporting a police case against them, the pain evident in his every expression. It was done. A line had been crossed, and there was no turning back. The family that once stood as a symbol of love and unity was now broken, irrevocably altered by a breach of trust so immense that it overshadowed all the love and happiness we once shared. I thought I was teaching them a lesson, making a point about boundaries and trust. But as I would soon find out, the lesson was far from over, and its finality would bring with it a new understanding of the complexities of family ties. A lesson both harsh and revealing, The following days were a whirlwind of emotion and legal formalities. Martha and Bill were released on bail, but the tension was palpable. Every ring of the phone sent shivers down my spine. Every knock on the door made my heart race. They tried to reach out, desperate voicemails filled with explanations, but I couldn't bring myself to listen to them. Tom was equally resolute, albeit visibly torn. "I can't believe it has come to this, Nancy," he said one evening as we sat in our now tainted living room. "I've supported them through thick and thin, and this is what it comes to." "I know, love," I said, resting my head on his shoulder, "but we have to think about our child, our family." Tom sighed, the burden of his emotions heavy in that single exhalation. "I can't even look them in the eye anymore, Nancy. As far as I'm concerned, they're dead to me." And so, we made the conscious choice to cut them out of our lives, to sever the ties that once bound us as a family. The police managed to recover most of the money, but the emotional debt was something that could never be repaid. When the court date arrived, Tom and I sat on one side and Martha and Bill on the other, a chasm of betrayal and hurt separating us. Their lawyer argued that it was a misunderstanding, that they had intended to invest the money for the betterment of the family, but the jury was not convinced, especially not when Emily took the stand. "Emily, could you tell the court what you saw on the day in question?" the prosecutor asked. "Of course. I saw Martha and Bill moving freely around Nancy and Tom's house, treating it as their own. When the police arrived, they acted as if they had every right to be there," Emily recounted, her voice steady but tinged with a palpable sense of indignation. "Thank you, Emily," the prosecutor concluded, "and that was it." In the end, Martha and Bill were handed a minimal sentence, but the damage was irreversible. Tom was an only child, and the act of cutting ties with his parents was significant, leaving an unfillable void in his life. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the years of trust and love that had been squandered in a single, reckless act. We had our child to think about, a new life that deserved to enter a world of trust and stability, not deceit and broken ties. "Are you okay?" I asked Tom as we left the courtroom, hand in hand yet each absorbed in our own world of thoughts. "I will be, eventually. Right now, I'm just glad it's over," he replied, his voice carrying a sense of finality. And that was it. We went back to our life, the house that had once been a symbol of our dreams, now a sanctuary from our nightmares. Slowly, we rebuilt, each brick of trust cemented with the promise of a better future for our child. But the scars remained, a constant reminder of a past that could not be undone, a lesson learned in the harshest way possible. Our family portrait, once filled with smiling faces, now had two less. And while we mourned the loss, we knew there was no turning back. Sometimes, the hardest lessons are those that teach you to protect your own, even if it means saying goodbye to the ones you once held dear. Months passed, turning into a year. The baby was born, a beautiful girl we named Lily, a beacon of hope in the labyrinth of emotions we had recently navigated. Each of her smiles was a respite, reminding us of the joys of family, even if our concept of family had been irrevocably changed. I watched Tom hold Lily one evening, his face a mixture of pure love and subtle sorrow. The juxtaposition was heartbreaking. "She's so beautiful, Nancy. It makes everything else seem so small in comparison." "She is," I agreed, "and she has us. She'll have a good life, Tom." But while Lily brought immense joy, the void left by Tom's parents was still palpable, a ghostly presence that loomed over even our happiest moments. It was during one of these moments that the phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID. It was Martha. I looked at Tom. "It's your mom." His face tightened. "Do you want to answer it?" I paused, contemplating. "No, but I think we should." With a hesitant hand, I picked up the phone. "Nancy, I know we have no right to ask for your forgiveness," she started, her voice shaky. "But we miss you. We miss our son, and we want to know our granddaughter." A surge of conflicting emotions ran through me. Anger, pain, but also, surprisingly, a flicker of compassion. It's not that easy, Martha. You betrayed our trust, took something we had been saving for Lily. I know we messed up terribly, Martha's voice broke, but we're her grandparents. Doesn't Lily deserve to know us? That statement hung in the air, heavy with implication and unspoken sorrow. I looked at Tom, whose eyes met mine. We were at a crossroads. It's not just what Lily deserves, Martha. It's about what we can bear to live with, Tom finally spoke, taking the phone from me. We're still figuring that out. After the call ended, we sat there in silence, each lost in our thoughts. It was Tom who finally broke it. Do we let them back in, Nancy? For Lily's sake? I don't know, Tom, I admitted, feeling the weight of our past and the potential of our future converging at this single point. I really don't know. And that's where we found ourselves, at the intersection of past mistakes and future possibilities. The cold reality was that life had handed us a complicated tapestry of choices, woven with threads of joy, betrayal, and lessons learned the hard way. As I rocked Lily to sleep that night, I realized that the essence of family was not just in the bonds we create, but also in the difficult choices we make to sustain those bonds. There were no easy answers, only hard decisions that would shape the landscape of our family for years to come. Our story didn't have a fairy tale ending, but it had a continuation, pages still to be written. We had survived, scarred but stronger, wary but wiser. Whether or not Martha and Bill would ever be a part of Lily's life remained uncertain. But one thing was clear. We had been through the crucible and had come out the other side, not unscathed, but resilient.